Hello, this is Julie. Today I want to show you how to make this pop-up Christmas tree card using Make the Cut's Pop-Up Card Studio software. When we're done, it'll look like this. First, I click on this little paper icon to create a design. This one's going to be 5.5 inches wide by 5.5 inches tall, and then I just click on Create. I need to add some text, so I'm going to click on the T. I've got Claritin Black bold font selected, and I've got the size set at 0.5/8 of an inch. And now I'm gonna set my position at 2 inches. I'm going to put all the text on the 2-inch plane for now, and then I'll be changing that as we work through this. The first layer is, the top layer is 4, and I press enter and it adds it there. Then I click the mouse where I want the next layer to start. This will be undo and enter. And the next one is you'll notice the default, it is typing in capital letters, which is good because we most of the time use capital letters when we work with text on pop-up cards. The next layer is born this, enter, click, and day in the, enter. Next is City of David. A Savior, which is Christ the Lord. Now you can use any text you want, and you can use as many or as few layers as you want to use. My text required that I do these a little bit I'm going to set the snapping to 1/28 of an inch, and now I'm going to crop all the text. To crop the text, we click on the fourth icon from the left with the cropping tool. We zoom in a little. What we want to do is click the cropping tool just below the tops of the straight edges of the letters and crop it just above the bottoms of the straight edges with the inclusive rectangle selected. You see that option right here. This allows us to make perfectly straight edges, which are required in order for the dashed lines to be created automatically in this software. So we have to clip off the bottoms of each of the letters, tops and bottoms. If I don't get it quite low enough, then they won't stick to the card automatically. So I like to be real careful at this point. Clip off a little bit of the top and a little bit of the bottom. I set the snapping at 1/1/28 of an inch because I don't want to crop away too much of my text, and 1/8 of an inch off the top and 1/8 of an inch off the bottom makes them a full 1/4 inch smaller, and I want to get as much height as I can. And once the letters are cropped, then I'm going to resize them. I'd like a 1/2 inch difference in the width of each row. The bottom is going to be 5 inches wide because the card is 5.5 inches. And since my crop was probably not equal all the way around, then I'll reset the bottom height to 0.6. That way all the layers will be the same. So I select the next one and we'll make this one 4.5 inches. So you type in the width that you want and press enter. And then type in 0.6 for the height. And go to the next one. Make that 4 inches wide and press enter. Then 0.6, press enter. So if this one was 4 inches, this next row is going to be 3.5. Just type in 3.5, enter, and make this 0.6, enter. So this one's going to be 3.6. This one will be 2.5. And 0.6. This one will be 2. 0.6, and this one will be 1.5. So we have here 5 inches, 4.5, 4, 3.5, 3, 2.5, 2, and 1.5. So now we're ready to put these on their layers. I'm going to hold the D key and click on this text, "Is Christ the Lord?" That'll be my first layer. And before I move all of these, I'm going to move them off to the left to get them out of my way from the card. And this bottom layer is going on the 2-inch position, so I'm going to click on this vertical center side to center my text on the card, and then click on the down arrow here to send it to the bottom of the card. And when I send it to the bottom of the card, I can look at print preview to make sure that the bottom of the card has these red lines. I mean, the bottom of the text has these red lines to show that they are connecting to the bottom of the card. Now I'm going to press the space bar, and that gives me the tops of the letters that I'm ready to draw the anchor to the back of the card. I'm going to click on 1/8 of an inch snapping because that makes it much easier to draw these lines accurately. I'm going to change the color to gray because that will help me to see these dashed lines a little bit better. I hold my right click and scroll so I can scroll forward, and that will help me to see the angle better. What I want to do is click on the pen and then click on Auto Quad on the right side of the screen so that it'll draw me some lines automatically. You see the blue dashed line on the left and the red dashed line on the bottom. Left click when you see those blue and red dashed lines, then go to the back of the card till you see a red dash on the back, and you should see the blue dash on the right, and left click. Now we have a platform anchoring the text to the back of the card. Excuse me. Now I'm going to click on the arrow and select my next layer of text. I'm going to hold a D key and click on the text that I want, and I'm going to use Control X to cut it and move my plane, or the position of the back of the card, to 1.75. I'm going to be doing these rows of text in 1/4 inch increments. You can see that this plane is now slightly in front of the previous text by 1/4 of an inch. Now I click the arrow and I type Control V to put my text now on this layer, and I'll raise it up a little so that I can center it and then send it to the bottom. Now I have that text ready to go. I'm going to hit the space bar where I get the yellow lines at the tops of the letters, click on my pen tool, and I'm going to draw that plane in again. Left click when I see the blue and red dashes to the left of the first yellow line. Go to the back of the card, look for the red dashed at the back and the blue dashed line to the right of the last letter, and left click. That gives me another plane attaching these letters to the back of the card. Now I'm going to press a D key and grab the next group of letters and cut them, Control X, cut. And I'm going to go to the 1.5 inch plane, 1.5, and Control V to paste. Again, I'm going to click on center and then down to drop it. Press a space bar so I have my yellow lines. Left click on the pen, left click and left click, and I'm ready to go to the next layer of text. Zoom out a little. Press the arrow key, type D, select the text, Control X to cut it, and we're going to move to 1.25. Each layer is moving in by 1/4 of an inch. So Control V, paste it there. I'm going to center it and drop it down to the plane. Press the space bar and scroll forward a little with my right mouse so I can see that and zoom in a little. Click on the pen tool. Left click when I see the red and blue dashes, so go to the back and left click when I see red and blue dashes. Hold the D key, press my next row of letters, Control X to cut it. We're going to put this on the 1-inch plane, Control V to paste, center and drop it down, space bar, press the pen tool, left click when I see the red and blue, left click when I see red and blue dashes, press the arrow key, hold the D and click on the text that I want to work with next. Control X to cut. I move this to 0.75, enter. Press the arrow key, Control V, center, drop it down, space bar, press the pen tool, left click when I see the dashes, red and blue both sets. Press the space bar. Gotta zoom out to find my next row. Hold the D key. I think I'll move both of these over. So I'm going to Control X cut that. Let's see, which plane was I on? If you forget, you can hold the D key to go back to the last one. I was on 0.75, so what I want now is 0.5, enter, and Control V. We'll center that and drop it down. And zoom in a little bit. Right click and drag lets me zoom in at an angle here. Now I'm going to click on the pen tool, left click when I see the blue and red dashes, left click when I see the dashes on the right side, click the arrow key, press the space bar, got that. So I'm going to hold the D key and click on the 4 and Control X cut, and we're going to put this on 0.5, enter, press the arrow key and Control V to paste, center and send it down to the plane there. Now when you're building your tree, you want to make sure that none of your shapes go higher than this white line across the top. That's, if you go past that, your letters would show when the card is closed. Now I'm going to press the space bar and draw in the last plane here. Left click, and I have all of my layers now. We'll go over here to look at print preview again to make sure that we have score lines represented for every layer. If there's one that doesn't, if some of the letters don't look right, then we need to fix that. I see that I've got a problem here with the 4. 4 is attached to the unto. Other than that, I see blue at the tops of the letters and red at the bottom, which is what I want to see. Blue at the top of every letter and red at the bottom of every letter. Otherwise, the score lines will not be there and it won't cut right. But I do have to fix the 4. Looks like I put it on the wrong plane. It should be on a 1/2 inch, but it's on the same plane as unto. To fix that, again, I'm going to click on the D, click on 4, I'm going to Control X, cut it, and I'm going to move to the 1/4 inch plane, 0.25, enter, and Control V, paste, and that put my text on the proper plane. I'm going to move it up a little bit, center, and drop it down. But now the tab to the back is in the wrong place, so I'll click on D and click on it to select it, and I'll just delete that. And we'll try again, since I now have it on the right plane. Click on the pen, left click when I see the red and the blue dashes, go to the right side when I see the red and blue dashes, left click. Now that should be better. So when we go to File, Print Preview, it should look a little better at the top. Again, we're looking for red lines for the folds in the back, blue lines at the tops of the letters, and red lines at the bottoms of the letters. So it looks like it will cut correctly now. One last thing that I want to do is add a star at the top, and we have some basic shapes in this software. By clicking on the heart on the left side of the screen, I get the library, and I'll click on stars. I want a 6-pointed star, so I'll double click on that. And it's been added to the plane that I was on, which is not where I really want it. So I'm going to cut that, Control X, and switch to the back plane, and I want that on the 0 because I want it on the back of the card. Now I can press Control V and my star will appear on the back. It's a little big. I need it to fit in this area, so I'm going to just select the straight corner arrow and drag it up to resize to where I want it to be. Still a little bit big. And this will cut out of the back of the card. And then I want it narrower, and with it selected I'll center it and just visually inspect it. Now I'm going to zoom out a little, and I'm going to check my card to make sure that it will fold the way I want it to. We have an open card slider. We close it, and I see that nothing is sticking out of the top of the card, and it looks good to me. So I can save my file, go to File, Save As, we'll call this Popup Christmas Tree, I'll call it number 5. And I have my card. Now if I want to cut this card to one of my Make the Cut compatible cutters, I can cut straight from this software. Going to Export and Project Rendering, I can go to the machine directly and it will render the shape ready to cut. Now right now it would be going to my Click and Cut Zing, but I could also cut to my eCraft, my Gazelle, my other Click and Cut cutters, my Pazel's Inspiration, silhouette machine, click and cut, zing. So I can cut to any of these machines directly from this Pop-Up Card Studio. If I want to cut it though on one of my other cutters, such as my Cricut Explorer, my Pazzles View, or my Sizzix Eclipse, I'm going to need to render this, export it to SVG. So you go to Project Rendering as SVG file, and then you can save it as an SVG, and it'll render all the lines to the SVG as you need it. This will automatically open in your default software if you have software designated to open SVG files. In this case, mine is going to the Pazzles InView software, and you'll notice that there are red lines for the valley folds and blue lines for the mountain folds, black lines for all the cut lines. So this file is ready to cut as is. Now, I made all of my lines solid because I use my engraving tool when I do my score lines. So the engraving tool I don't need to cut dashes. So what I do when I go to cut these, I will select just the score lines first, all the blue and the red, and I will select my engraving tool and then go ahead and send it to my cutter with the engraving tool in. When I've finished that, then I will go back. I could stay in that window, I guess, and I would select cut, and I will select just my black lines to cut. Set the type of cardstock. I like to use a heavier cardstock when I do these pop-up cards, especially with this small text. I use heavy cardstock, and it needs to be really crispy, and you need to have a nice sharp blade, otherwise you just waste paper. So after I finish cutting the black lines with my blade in the machine, and then I'm finished here. So I end up with a really nice card. I have some pictures of my finished card. But I cut the main card out of green cardstock, and then I made a backing that was 6 inches by 6 inches. I just took a 12-inch sheet of red and cut it in half to make backings for 2 cards. So I have an extra edge around the tops and sides, and I glue this down. So I hope this was helpful for you. I think the recipients will be thrilled to get their pop-up card this year. Thanks for watching.